Welcome to Boomcast, the official podcast by Boombox.
I'm MusicByLukas.
And I'm Fabio from Noize.
Store, organize, and collaborate like never before. Boombox.io is the new home of music collaboration.
Don't forget that every month we are giving away $500 worth of studio equipment. And all you have to do is comment down below with...
Yeah, comment below and let us know what you would have in your dream studio where money is no object and everything is unlimited. Like, would you have a studio on a private island? Would it be on a jet? Comment below what it would be.
So let's reel it back a bit, Lucas, because what we are going to discuss today is building our dream studio, but in 3 tiers, right? We've got tier 1, which is up to $500, tier 2, which is up to $3,000, which I actually found to be really tricky because it's a big number, but it's not quite big enough. And then we've got tier 3, which is dream
Unlimited.
Studio scenario.
Yes, which is currently your studio.
Well, yeah, you know what? Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I love my studio. We can't see much of it in this shot, but I've got some bits for sure. I've got some bits.
Also, Fabio and I went back and found pictures of our old studios, and we're going to be reacting to those today as well. First tier is $500. So all you have is $500. Now, Fabio, is that like $500 on top of like a computer, or is you got to put that all in there for 500 or what?
We are assuming that you already have a computer, or a phone, because I do think that a laptop or a phone these days are pretty staple. I'm not trying to say that, everyone should have one. I understand that we'll have, we're all in different situations, but generally speaking, most people have access to some sort of computer these days, right? You have to buy the door, but I think this is what's so great about 2023 is that you don't really have to buy anything because there are so many free options. So
True.
If you have the software, so if you have the computer, the software is hypothetically free. We've got Ableton Lite.
Yeah.
We've got GarageBand.
Right.
And now we're starting to see companies that have doors within browsers, such as BandLab and Soundtrap by Spotify. So things that only you and I could have ever dreamed of as young budding producers, right?
Yeah.
Back when DAWs were so expensive and now pretty much free. And if you're going in and thinking about spending $500 on a studio, we could also assume that you're a beginner. And that means that you don't need something with all the bells and whistles.
Well, also maybe you're then saving money by, for example, building your own acoustic panels, watching some YouTube tutorials, downloading some free plugins. Yeah, there is actually, it's kind of nice to do this challenge because there are actually ways to, find some cool stuff out there now.
There are a bunch of amazing stock and free plugins. There's going to be more than enough tools there. If you start spending loads of money on virtual instruments and you barely know how to produce or how to use a DAW, you're going to find yourself feeling very panicked and very overwhelmed when you sit down to make music and probably won't end up making anything because of the amount of information that you're going to have to, or the amount of skills that you're going to have to learn in order to actually make a song. So if I only had $500 today, and I've worked this out almost to the cent, right? We've got the computer, we've got the software, as we discussed. So I'm thinking headphones, right? Yeah. Forget the speakers, forget acoustic treatment. Headphones means you're portable, you can make music anywhere. You're going to go for the Audio-Technica ATH M40s, which are $117, or the Bear Dynamic DT990, which are open backs, just to give people an open back option, more natural sound. They're a little heavier, a little clunkier, and those are $139. What are you thinking headphones wise?
Headphones wise, I would do the same thing. I would go for a lower scale Audio-Technica, maybe a lower scale Sennheiser. I actually think too that the headphones, they are important, but as long as you have a good pair of monitor headphones, you could get something like SonarWorks to balance your headphones, like a software that you could use, and that could actually take whatever headphones you have to the next level. Would you do speakers for $500 studio, or would you be like, no, just headphones?
No, just headphones. I think monitors come with too many issues. Monitors, you need cables, you need stands, you need acoustic treatment. So I would probably try to avoid eating into that much of the budget.
What about a piano? Anything there?
100% MIDI keyboard.
Yeah.
And I've bought 2 of these because I actually broke one. I don't even know how I broke it, but there's something silly. An Alesis Q25, which is a 25-key keyboard. Now, I understand if you want something bigger, if you're a pianist or a musician, but if you're a producer who doesn't know how to play keys and wants to learn on something that's got full-size keys and that feel good, this is a very, very cheap
And
MIDI
how much is
keyboard.
that one?
So you can find them for about $80.
Okay, because I have had to buy when we've been, because we live on the road, as you know, and I've had to buy keyboards on the road sometimes if we're in a place for a long time and I got to finish a track and I just need that keyboard feel. And what I usually do is I just get an M Audio USB keyboard with weighted keys. And honestly, you can get like a pretty good sized keyboard, bigger than a 25 key, for around the same price. So I would also look for something like that.
Yeah, and then people often ask me, oh, should I go for this brand and should I go for this brand? They're kind of the same price. Honestly, if they are the same price, they're probably the same build quality. Like, don't stress yourself out about it. Go read reviews, obviously.
Amazon, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but if you're like, oh, should I buy a keyboard that's $300 versus one that's $30? I think we know which one's going to be better. I did want to switch out the MIDI keyboard because I did want to factor in vocalists here. So if you're not looking for a MIDI keyboard, maybe you're thinking about a microphone. Right. Billie Eilish recorded a lot of her original records on something called an Audio-Technica AT2020. And you can get a bundle of the microphone with the stand, with the cables, for about $140. So a little bit more than the MIDI keyboard, but you're getting a lot more equipment for the money.
And you could also you could get a Splice membership for like $7 a month in this $500 tier, and you pretty much have unlimited samples for the most part. I've never ran out of credits, for example, on Splice, and I downloaded a lot, and that could be definitely beneficial in comparison maybe to going out and buying outright sample packs that maybe cost 20 to 50 or more dollars. Getting it in the Splice kind of vibe would maybe be better.
I was paid by a company to enter a remix competition in Splice, and I don't know exactly why they pay me to do it, and maybe it's because they knew something I didn't, but they paid me to enter it, and I ended up winning the competition, the Splice competition, and Splice then gave me a free license to Splice for 1 year. Let me tell you that was about 6 years ago, and I still have that free license being perpetually renewed every single year.
Splice is going to comment like, hey, we just discontinued your license.
So if you do have a microphone, even if you don't have a microphone, you are going to need an audio interface, and you've got quite a snazzy audio interface that you take with you on the road, Lukas.
Universal Audio. It's not like the craziest one. It's their Volt series, which is actually a really good series of interface. So it's like they have much more expensive ones, but this one was only a couple $100 and it works perfectly, and it even has this mic input. So yeah, I think this is a good find.
Absolute classic, which is the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2.
That's the classic.
Would survive nuclear warfare. It is one of the most ubiquitous pieces of equipment that I saw when I was coming up engineering, and I think they're on like the third or fourth generation now. It's $150. You can't go wrong. It's 2 inputs in, 2 inputs out, and nice solid metal case. So if you are traveling or you are moving around a bit, you're not going to be too worried about banging it or bumping it. It's fairly indestructible. It's like the Shure SM58 of audio interfaces. So we have a little bit of budget left.
We have some wiggle room. Okay.
We have some wiggle room. So I figured it out, and there's about $70 left. And I think something that we've discussed in the past, and that I know a lot of producers and singers and musicians appreciate, is vibe.
Is it I was gonna say, is it a pair of sunglasses? I actually got, and I should pull them out, I actually got a pair of sunglasses that kind of have the Fabio like Noize London vibe.
I want to see them.
They're a little bit similar, which by the way, comment below if you're watching this, if you noticed my hair changed and what you think about it. You can be totally honest.
Yeah. God. I saw a photo of you in these. Yeah, that's it. You look like you're about to drop like the hardest emo trap album of 2023. I actually yesterday bought a humidifier which has like a glowing light on it, and I found a slightly bigger version on Amazon for this podcast, which we'll put in the show notes.
Nice.
And I think what's cool about the humidifier is it's brings the vibes because it's got the lights, but it's also like tapping into the slightly healthy lifestyle, right? You're putting like a nice scent in your studio, which means it's going to smell good too. and it's going to help you feel relaxed. And humidifiers are also great, if people didn't know. And I'm not a scientist, so please go and do your own research. But humidifiers are also great for you if you're not feeling very well, if you're feeling ill, if the room is dry, all the electrical equipment drying up the room, and they can actually prevent bacteria from spreading too. So, it's a win-win all round.
Okay, so let's amp it up. Let's go for that 3,000 budget. So my question for you, Fabio, is does that 3,000 budget still include the computer? Because I feel like if it doesn't, then, you're almost doing the same thing as the previous budget and then getting a computer with it. Or what do you think?
I mean, are you working on a tape machine? You obviously have a computer. You've hit you bought your first $500 studio.
You've done
hit
it.
your threshold. You know what? Maybe you got a bigger paycheck at work, or you started making some money from music. You sold a sound pack. You did something. That's allowed you to.
That could be another podcast.
Evolve.
Things to help you get to that point, like, ways
100%.
To increase your revenue
money.
For the future. If you guys want that, make sure to comment below. If I had already had a computer and I have a budget of 3,000 for my studio and I have some basic stuff already, I think I'm looking at plugins. I think I'm looking at software. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that can really be a game changer for your music to be able to help you. There's certain plugins that I've used, like for example, Nexus or Serum, that have really helped me be able to have really cool sounds and expand kind of my music reach.
Let's start with some assumptions. You've got the computer, right?
Yeah.
You got the vibes. You've probably got some basic equipment. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you are starting from scratch, but you happen to have $3,000. Good for you.
Yeah.
You've got to.
Good for you.
Okay, I'm going to just put this in here because I didn't fit it into the budget, but I do think it's something really important. It's good chair, good desk.
Oh yeah, good chair and a good desk are important. Yeah. That's true.
Undermine the good chair and the good desk, because if you are sitting there for a long time and you are making those investments overnight, over the weekend, when you can.
What if you spent all 3,000 on these though?
Then you can't even see the desk or the chair, so you can just pretend. You can pretend it's whatever you want.
No, I agree with you 100%, though. Having the desk and the chair are really important because you're going to be sitting there for a long time.
If you need to spend money on your health, spend money on your health. If that means using some of the budget for a gym membership or for healthier groceries or for a better chair, don't mistake that as not being an important part of you sitting down and making music and investing in your creative passion, hobby, or profession.
What are the external plugins that you would get that would within this budget? Because you got a little bit of wiggle room. Did you make any budget for that, or did you save it for more gear stuff?
No, definitely. I'm quite a software based kind of producer and engineer, so you're gonna get the full software first and foremost, right? You're gonna get Logic or you're gonna get Ableton. I want everyone to know right now that Logic is $200 and Ableton is $600, the full suite. So people will say, "Oh, but you have to have Logic on a Mac," right? But if you spent $400 more in compared to Ableton, you could probably afford a Mac. Not actually, I don't want to assume, but you could
maybe not the new MacBook Pro, but yeah, exactly.
Maybe not, but the M1 MacBook is pretty good, the base model M1 MacBook. Yeah. So think about that. Get it secondhand. Don't be scared of jumping on eBay, Facebook Marketplace. I know in the States you have Craigslist. Here in the UK, we have something called Gumtree. Plugins wise, let's talk instruments, right? Let's talk music creation tools rather than mixing and mastering tools.
Yep.
Go for a suite, wait for a sale, or if you're a student of some sort, use the educational discount. Most companies have an educational discount. It can be 50%. Arturia collection is great if you want loads of vintage synths. It also does come with some mixing tools as well, some effects, some EQs, analog EQs. Or if you want something that is less synth drum machine focused, more broad, the Native Instruments standard suite comes in at about $600. So the Arturia is $500, Native Instruments is $600, and that will give you more than enough to do what you need to do creatively.
Yeah, I think it also depends on what kind of your end goal is, because if you're trying to be a mastering engineer, obviously you want to get some plugins for that. if for example, you're not maybe the best with melodies, maybe you want to look at like Captain Chords or one of those types of plugins that's going to assist you with melody ideas. And if you, for example, are looking for some more kind of sounds that are already processed and have a lot of those kind of effects on them, Nexus is great. It already has reverbs and all that kind of stuff in there, and it's really detailed. So yeah, it just kind of depends on what your focus is, because now you have a little bit of a budget to move around with.
You know, don't overshoot and buy too many things either, especially because you see them on sale, like, oh, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get this, and then you end up, you've got too many options, and that's going to cripple
100%.
your creativity. If you are looking to do a little mixing and you want some effects, you want to head into that zone, right? You want to head into the Noize London zone, maybe Sound Toys and FabFilter, not both. You can get one, or you could get one or the other.
For sure.
There again, like Black Friday or educational discounts going to give you about 50% off. So I'm going to give you their lowest price. Sound Toys is about $250. FabFilter is about $350. Right. Shop around. And then the only thing I would add there is Valhalla Vintage Verb for $50. I think it's one of the best reverbs out there for $50.
It's a classic. There's a couple of reverb plugins that I've really enjoyed lately. Exoverb does spatial reverb within stereo sound, which is really cool if you want to get like a spatial vibe. And then the Cashmere reverb is really good for especially electronic music. The presets are crazy because it's new. It's like, and it's geared automatically towards that kind of stuff. So there's some really cool plugins out there right now.
If you're thinking like, oh, okay, well, I've just bought the suite, I really wish I had budget for Serum, you could always go for Vital,
right,
which is basically Serum but free, completely free. And it's an awesome synth. Do I prefer Serum? Yes, in some ways, but maybe that's just because I'm more familiar with it. And I think there are more videos on Serum because it's been around for longer. But Vital is an awesome alternative.
All right, so we have a little bit more room in the $3,000 budget. So what are like the last must-haves that we need in there?
So look, I'm going to assume you already have headphones by this point. So you could upgrade to a better version of the Audio Technicas if you want to, or I would recommend the III TMA Studios. I'm wearing the wireless version right now. Very comfortable. Great, thank you. Great. They're great headphones. They're very, very comfortable, and they sound fantastic. And if you want a MIDI keyboard, the Native Instruments Complete Control A49 is a nice upgrade. It's $220, which is really decent. If you don't want a MIDI keyboard and you don't need headphones, maybe you want a better microphone. And I'm going to give you two options here. One, the microphone that you hear Lucas and I speak on when we're doing our podcast. This is the Shure SM7B. It's not just a podcasting mic. One of the reasons it's such a good mic is because it's dynamic. And what that means is that it's not that sensitive, so that if you do have a lot of reflections in your room, it's not going to pick up on them that much, which means that you don't have to spend money on acoustic treatment if you don't want to. Alternatively, if you do have a closet or a dead sounding room or deadish sounding treated room in which you can record, I would go for the Aston Spirit, which is a fantastic condenser mic that comes in at about $350. You know, I want to be conscious of including vocalists and producers here. You know, I know some of you out there are hybrid. And look, if you're really desperate for a microphone and you don't have any budget, use your iPhone. The iPhone microphone is awesome. And if you're just doing dance music and you're doing taglines, you can get really creative. It's got a lo-fi, hi-fi sound.
There's an app that I use actually to record the voice stuff for my radio show, and it's called Voice Record on iPhone. And for some reason, I don't know if it's just the calibration or what, but the audio sounds a lot cleaner than the Voice Memo app. So it's called Voice Record. I think it's a free app. It just has little ads on the bottom or something. But yeah, that's a good one.
We've just got a couple more items in this $3,000 budget. So the audio interface is the upgraded version of the one you have, Lucas. So this is the Universal Audio Vault 476p USB-C. We love USB-C. That makes life easier for everybody. No dongles necessary. And that's $470. That still leaves us with $1,000. So I am $50 over budget here. And I've got like a couple of options. So, you know, monitors are important at a certain point. You can't work on headphones forever.
That's true.
It starts to, everything starts to sound the same. It will start to sound stale. And if you're collaborating with other people or you're with singers, they are going to want to hear true speakers. So for that reason, they can be really important, and also just for having a bit more fun. They're the same speaker, but one's bigger, one's smaller. One's a bit bigger, but we're not including acoustic treatment, and one's smaller, and we are. And those are the.
Are you going Yamaha, or where are you going?
I'm going Focal Alpha. So the Focals are great speakers first and foremost, but they made this Alpha range, which is just around the $1,000 mark, which is a great price. But they just released, I think, new versions of these monitors. So they've got the 80, which is an 8-inch driver, which is great if you want to really be able to hear the low end, and then the 65, which is a 6.5-inch driver, which is also great. But don't forget that the better your room sounds, the better the speaker will sound. Not the better the speaker will sound, the better the sound will be. So if you feel like, okay, I want to go for the smaller ones, but I want to spend $300 building my own panels, on which there are loads of incredible YouTube videos, then do that.
For sure. And for this week's Out of the Box question, we are going to react and review our old pictures of our old studios. And mine really back all the way, I think when I was 11, something like that. My family had this piano. I didn't get it. So it wasn't within my 11-year-old budget, but my family had this piano that essentially no one was using. And it had this little sequencer in the middle. Like it had, like, you could make different tracks and you could add sounds and then layer them on top of each other. So it was almost like the computer DAW was inside the keyboard. And I started messing around with this, and I took it pretty far. I started like making like my own beats and showing them to my friends, and even had like, I would mess around and try to rap on them and stuff like that, and record even with like a tape recorder. Like, and I would just be so proud of this. But I got to a point eventually where I really wanted to get like a DAW. I really wanted to get like Logic Pro, and I wanted to get a computer and everything, but I didn't have the money to do that. But there was an Apple store at the mall in my neighborhood. And so what I did was I would go to the Apple store as often as I could. And I would go up to those test computers, launch Logic Pro, and start learning how to use it. I got really good at it by doing this. Eventually, the manager of the store, though, wanted to like kick me out because I'm like using this computer all the time. I negotiated where if I could teach the employees how to use Logic Pro, he would let me use the test computers. And so that was kind of my negotiation to be able to make this happen. And then I would bring a little USB stick with me to be able to save my beats every day, because that way, because you know they like reset the computers like every day, so you can't like save your stuff on there. So I would plug in the USB, load up my project, and work on it some more. Eventually saved up enough money to like get an old Apple computer on eBay, and that's kind of how I started.
That's an incredible story, dude. I love that. I love the hustle. I love like, wait, where can I access Logic? Oh, hold on, I know a place that has a lot of computers. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. That's brilliant. I learned Logic at school, and then when I was 14, I mean, I learned on a DAW that came in a box of Frosties,
wow,
which was called EJ360. I think showing a photo of a box of Frosties would probably be quite underwhelming, but I do definitely have some photos of old studios somewhere in my old bedroom with graffiti on the walls, as you can imagine, and all the things an adolescent would have. However, we'll
pop those up. If Fabio sends, we will pop those up on the screen.
If this video gets 1 like, I'll find them for you. No, I guess what was my first, let's call it commercial studio that I built. It was still in my apartment. But I'd speak a lot about vibe and how studios should feel good and feel like, you know, somewhere you want to work. I always think about it as if you're walking into your brain, and the more professional you can make it feel, it doesn't mean that you need professional equipment. I actually think the longer you want to be there, the brain really loves novelty, and novelty can be a change of location. It can also be a change of environment, but it can be a small change of environment. So that triggers dopamine. And if you find that you're feeling unproductive in your studio space, try moving things around, cleaning, moving things around, and making it feel like a new space. You'll feel extra productive, and then you'll want to go straight in. You'll be excited about being in that room that you spend so much time in. But
I love that.
So here's a photo of my first commercial studio.
It looks awesome.
Thank you, man. I was a big lover of analog gears, you can tell. So I got the Moog, I got the TR-8, I got the Korg, and that's going through those 2 guitar pedals that you see on the left. The panels in the back that you can see are all custom built by myself and a bunch of friends who I managed to rope in. Because I think, like, if you say to the boys, listen, I've got a bunch of beers, some power tools, and some wood that needs cutting, would you be up for helping me out? And it was so sweet. All my guy friends, we all got together in my garden, and we built all these panels. And you can kind of see, but I put these LED lights around the back of them,
Yeah.
again, to create that vibe. Couple of plants, just why not? Just to stop everything feeling so synthetic.
Yeah.
And my favorite part of the studio, and it comes back to what I was saying before, is the desk. So I had that desk custom made, and I actually borrowed some money from a friend because I couldn't afford it at the time, but I knew that would make a huge difference to my workflow, my productivity, and it did, and it's actually probably the best investment in that photo.
And shout out to Boombox for making this collaboration between me and Noize London possible. That is what Boombox is all about. It's about making it easier for you to collab and be able to find people to collab with online. And you can, again, store, you can share, and you can get feedback on your music. There's so much you can do. So if you haven't signed up for Boombox, go check it out at boombox.io.
Okay, Lucas.
Okay, let's do it.
We're at God tier, right? God
Unlimited
tier means it Amex triple platinum.
There
right?
it is.
It's not even in your name, so you can spend as much as you want.
Just do whatever I want. So here, I thought about this. I thought about it deeply, and I was like, okay, if sky's the limit, what I'm going to do, because the difference between me and most producers is that I'm on the road full time. So I kind of got to travel and bring a lot of stuff with me. And that can be difficult to have all this gear with you. And you always kind of think like, I wish I had like, a bigger monitor, or my speakers or something like that, but it's just too much to bring with you. So with my unlimited money, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire the best minds in the metaverse, and I am going to have them design me just like the sickest. And this is just like, this is sky's the limit. The sickest like goggles that I can wear, headset where I can be in the stream studio no matter where I am. I got massive monitors. I can push things all over the place. It has all my plugins and all my stuff kind of loaded in. I have the best headphones that kind of come with it. Maybe this mask has, this would be a sick idea for a metaverse mask, but it's like got these like sick, like, amazing monitor headphones included with, and you got the screen here, and that way, no matter where I'm at, I can produce the best music possible. And it'd be sick if other people could join me in that metaverse as well. Like, I want to work with that vocalist. Okay, I'm bringing him in. And this is my extra business idea for Boombox. We need this producing metaverse. Let's go.
Honestly, I don't think I can top that. I think that's actually just such a great idea. The fact that you only need a pair of goggles, like an Oculus Rift with you, and then you can have, if they could just make that Oculus Rift HD and find a way to create some sort of haptic feedback that makes it feel that little bit more tactile. Like you
feel the keys on the keyboard and you can like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. Like I went to a zombie VR thing quite recently, and you have to wear body armor, but the body armor reacts to the zombies hitting you. So what is the version of that for music where you can feel a little bit more what's going on? Maybe when you press the chord, the controller has that haptic feedback, so you just feels even more immersive than it could be.
I like it. You have emotional vibes, you have connection. I like that.
Definitely. And of course it's going to have to come with some god tier headphones. I haven't used these, but I've seen them on the market, and I know they're really expensive. I think I'm guessing here, but I think they're around $2,000 to $3,000 for these headphones by Audi's. I hear good things. People like them. In the god tier world, I like you. I like to be in the studio, but I also like to travel. And what I'd really like, I'd still want the physical studio, but I would love a custom built Peli case, one of those indestructible hard cases that you open and the studio is just there. I don't have to unload anything. I open it, it's like, and then the bottom bit comes down, MIDI keyboard comes out, and it's all ready to go. So and the speakers come up.
Because then you could produce, and I'm just guessing that if you got the unlimited credit card for the studio, it's also for your life expenses. So, maybe you go to that island, you know what I mean? And you're producing right there and you have like the best view, because I think views are also really important. And that's another
100%.
one for the metaverse studio, is it doesn't have to look like a studio. Like you could put on the thing and you'd have your studio, but you could be anywhere. You could be on the top of a mountain. You could be, because like, yeah, those vibes are really important. Like imagine you're trying to produce like a sad song and you can't necessarily get in the mood, and you're like, you know, you just press a button and it's raining in the studio. There's some like, thunder clouds in the distance, and it's dimly lit. Like all those things would be so cool to really get into that zone.
Does it have a temperature change as well? Like if you're recording on the beach, does it make you hotter?
That'd
Can you
be
turn
so
the AC
crazy
on in the metaverse?
Yeah, that'd be so cool, because then you could you could really get in the vibe. You're like, I need to make some beach tunes. Okay.
Yeah.
It's getting hotter in here, Yeah, I mean, honestly, it'd be tough to in I'm talking like in real life now though, but it's like tough like when it's winter, and it's like if you're in a location that's freezing cold, if you're like, I need to make a banger for the summer. Like, it's tough to get in that vibe to feel it if you can't feel it. It's true. And I think that's why a lot of artists throughout history have, like, for example, gone to a specific location and like, locked themselves in a room for however long to produce an album or whatever. Like it's that vibe is so important.
I agree. But the Oculus Rift idea, the metaverse idea is fantastic.
So that's it for today's podcast. Make sure to comment below, because we're giving away a $500 gift card that you can use towards your studio gear. But comment below what you would get in that unlimited studio. Would you be on a private island? Would you do the metaverse idea? Or would you just get like a spaceship studio, private jet? What's going on? Let us know in the comments. And thank you to Boombox for making this collab possible.
And don't forget that you can find us in the link in the description below. I'm at Noize_London.
And I'm at MusicByLukas.
And this is the home of collaboration. Thank you, Boombox, and see you very soon. Peace.
Later.